Friend who used to work in a darkroom in London kindly borrowed me an old Yashica camera. Yeah, so we were around taking pictures of scrapyards for our art level, and his dad, his old man, had a darkroom in his basement, and we took these pictures, and I went with my friend, and we printed them, and so began the interest in photography, yeah, and the magic of the darkroom. I enjoyed it. I didn't. I think that it came down to my dad and my stepmom, I think, saying that you're going to go out and get a job more than anything. And what do you like? And luckily, I'd done a bit of photography. I'd done that printing in the darkroom. And so while all my mates stayed on to do A levels, in the class of 30, 28 of them stayed on, and one of the lad and myself, we left, and I got a job on a yacht scheme down a darkroom in Scrutton Street. And they encouraged me and used to give me film and let me print at weekends, and at that point I was really in love with sort of documentary photography then, photojournalism. I wanted to be Cartier-Bresson or Don McCullen, so I was taking all the like the National Front and the British Movement marches and the H-Block marches, and in Hyde Park. And I was doing sort of more documentary stuff then, and yeah, and it was slightly later on that the music photography began. That's when my stepbrother Dave Durrell started doing live reviews for the NME, and I was going to the gigs as well, so I started taking pictures. And eventually, I think about the fourth or fifth time, Paul Denoyer probably had sick of me coming up there with prints. He finally said, okay, there's a band called Southern Death Cult at the Greyhound at Hammersmith, and he printed one of the pictures, and so began my musical photography career. It was myself and another photographer. We had our dream of starting up a fanzine. We'd come from that, a little bit too young for the full punk fanzine sort of culture, but all our bands that we liked were either Liverpool and Manchester bands, most of the bands. So we'd gone up to Liverpool and tried to do the Crucial Three, which was a band that only existed in a pub for one night, and then we were following bands around. There was Southern Death Cult, lots of the gossy punk bands and Dance Society in Barnsley, and we'd stay with some of the band members. I think Barry from Southern Death Cult used to live in Manchester, so we'd stay there and stay in Bradford as well. So, and it was quite straight. Yeah, we were just going up north because a lot of the music was happening up north. It was just Morrissey I met initially, and it was a bit later. I went up to Manchester and did the full band. We did Salford Lads Club. Morrissey was really good at finding sort of good locations and bringing props to sessions that always made taking pictures a lot easier when the artist he's got such an appreciation of the image. So he'd done his research and he found an old shop, I think it was the Oldham Road, and it had Albert Finney written across the top of it, you know, his love of film and 60s writers from the north. So we used the shop front for the NME cover. When Morrissey went solo, yeah, it was quite good. I got a call to do some of his early press pictures, and also the cover for Interesting Drug. He used one of my pictures, so that was great. I was a big fan of the Smiths and of Morrissey's work, so that was a great highlight. And it's a shame there's some pictures that won't be in the show. The design company, I don't know, I lost the pictures. I did a shot of Barry Adamson's first album, Moss Side Story. That was an early trip up to Moss Side as well. And that was an eye opener. The Ian shots, yeah, of the Pink Street. That was done for, what was it working for? I think it was Japanese magazine that was for. Rocking On, and yeah, I was driving up there to take some pictures of Ian in Manchester, and then fortunately I'd heard that they were painting a street in, I think it was Moss Side. They were painting a street pink for a Barbie commercial. And I thought, oh, that could make an interesting backdrop. And it was the usual one where you meet the artist in a hotel, again the Piccadilly Hotel, and it'd be the usual, yeah, bedroom or foyer of the Piccadilly Hotel. But I said to Ian, there was a street painted pink, so does he fancy? So we did, yeah, a quick half an hour of around Piccadilly Hotel, and then hunted down the Pink Street in Moss Side. And it was brilliant. Yeah, they painted the street, the walls, the roofs. I think maybe not the roofs, but the walls. Everything was painted pink, And fortunately, the security men looking after either end of the street happened to be old Stone Roses security men, handily, and Ian quickly said, any chance of nipping in for 5 minutes and getting some pictures, and they of course obliged. Yeah, the first session with Oasis, it wasn't actually with them in it, it was the artwork for the Dig Out Your Soul cover, and it was garage doors that they were having graffiti and lettering placed on the doors that were going to be the cover. I think we ended up with a fisheye shot in the end they went with, just black and white 35mm, and Noel was really pleased with those, and the rest of the band were happy with them. And then they needed some press pictures for the album, and fortunately they said, well, yeah, why don't you follow it through and do the press pictures for the album as well. So, and it began my relationship with Oasis and Noel Gallagher. Yeah, with no solo work, yeah, because I did some pictures with BDI as well initially and stuff, but then they moved to different management, so that, and then it was probably going to start becoming difficult because having the two separate bands and the relationship was a bit. So, and I think Noel waited a bit of time before he actually, I think he started going to the studio, but he waited a little bit before he started bringing stuff out. And then I was fortunate enough, he started recording down in the studio in Richmond. And I started going down there and shooting some stills and shooting some Bolex and some Super 8 as well, and started documenting it. We did a bit in England, and then he also did some recording, I think the drums and bits and pieces. We went over to Los Angeles as well, did some at Sunset Sounds, so that was a great experience. And I was doing, it's just general documentary up until then. And then I got some of the flea markets and bought up some old Polaroid land cameras. Noel loved me turning up with this old late 50s, early 60s Polaroid camera. So we started shooting bits and pieces. And then he said, about doing some research on some interesting locations. So I think one he'd mentioned already, the Union Station, I think, because they used that for Blade Runner, for the police station. So I recce'd that. And then I started looking through, driving around, LA evening time, looking for other locations, and found that the petrol station that became the cover for the first album, that I saw as a Viking longboat, and Noel saw it as a phoenix flying out of the ashes. So I don't know if that was hence why the High Flying Birds thing came about. It was good. Yeah, it was great. We had a great time in LA. It's always good. I think shooting in different countries is always inspiring. I think like most foreign filmmakers, when they go to another country, the inspiration of all the things that everybody takes for granted become like Wim Wenders style. I'm not a great sort of studio, as in photographic studio photographer. I do find them quite sort of sterile environments, those, and unless there's some props or something going on and stuff, I do prefer shooting on location. That inspires me far more than studios. They're just so honest, those pictures. They stand the test of time, that sort of photography. I think you know when something's been set up in a studio and art directed. And I feel very privileged. I've always been privileged with lots of musicians I work with who trust me that much to let me sit in on their recordings and document them. I become a fly on the wall. Noel's used to me, and most of the other people I work with regularly. I'll just blend in the background, or sit there with my cup of tea. And I'm always looking, as most photographers are, you're looking for when the light's right, when the shapes are all right, when the reactions are right, and you sit there and compare it to, most people, it's a bit of a silly one, but going fishing. It's like going fishing, doing documentary photography. A lot of the time you'll sit there for a long time and nothing happens, but if you wait there long enough, normally the magic happens and you get the great pictures. But it is, it's all about waiting and being patient, that style of photography. Find something you're passionate, whether it's music photography or fashion or beauty, still life, or whatever you do, wedding photography and stuff. Make sure you're passionate about it. That's the first rule of thumb, because then you'll normally do a good job on it. And be happy to make mistakes in photography as well. There are plenty of sessions that got gone by the wayside that I took in the early days. I was nervous and intimidated by some of the big musicians that I sort of idolised from my bedroom, sort of thing. So then suddenly meeting them, it was quite intimidating. So I learned to be relaxed around people as well, and be confident. That's it, and it's just sticking at it. If you love it, just sticking at it. It took me many years of the pittance the NME used to pay was like between 18 and 23 pounds for a picture, and that included the film and the developing. So you didn't walk away with very much. But I love music, so that's what. If you find in photography or most things in life, anyway, you find something you love doing, and you always want to get out of bed in the morning. And the marks of woe, the T.S. Eliot marks of woe, and won't be showing on your boat race.